So you're thinking about using your Honda Element for van life? Well, today we're going to go over the pros and cons of using your Honda Element for that purpose. I've lived in a Honda Element for 3 years, and in that time I got very familiar with the pros and cons. So let's jump right away into it. First off, the pros. One, it's small and it's easy to park. So very maneuverable car. You can park into any small spaces. You can go into parking lots no problem. It has a really nice turning radius, which is really cool. And because it's a little bit of a smaller vehicle, that means that you're going to get actually better gas mileage. With my Honda Element all loaded up, I sometimes average between 19 to 23 miles per gallon. And if you're comparing that to like a big Sprinter van or even a truck camper, which range around like a 14 to 12 miles per gallon. And because of that, you're able to see more, you can travel farther without worrying so much about how much it's going to cost to get to your destination and location. And we've been to a ton of cool places: Wyoming, Grand Tetons, New Mexico, Arizona, all over the place. And it's been great because we don't have to worry about paying a huge gas bill when we arrive there. Now, another really cool pro slash quirk for the Honda Element is this tailgate. So if I'm just hanging out, you can drop the tailgate down, you can hang out, you can cook on the tailgate. It's very strong, and not a lot of cars, if they're not trucks, have a tailgate. So that's one interesting quirk about this vehicle. It's come in handy more than I can count. Super awesome little quirk for the Honda Element. Another really cool thing is that this car has a moonroof and side ventilation. So like on those really super hot days, getting some fresh air into your vehicle is super important. So the moonroof helps, the side windows, with the addition of a fan, which will help you circulate some of that cool air through while you're sleeping. It's like such a game changer. The other cool thing about this moonroof is that when you look through it, see the trees, see the stars while you're sleeping, and that's just like a really cool experience when you're laying down in the back of this thing. So one of the pros is that it has clamshell doors, right? You can open and get like a ton of ventilation. That's also one of the cons because you have clamshell doors. It makes it difficult to get things in and out. And if you have a passenger in the back for some reason, it's harder for them to get out because you have to open up the front door first and then the back door. And then when you're closing the doors, if you close the front door first and try to close this door, it runs into this. So it's just a whole thing. But the nice thing is, on like a really hot day, you open up both doors, you get a ton of ventilation just like you would with like a minivan or a big van. And I think it's more of a pro than a con. So yeah, clamshell doors, take it or leave it, I don't know. So the Honda Element also has decent ground clearance and it's all-wheel drive, so you can go off-road in the snow, in the rain. And when you pair that with some nice like all-terrain tires, this vehicle is super capable. We've actually done a video where we took out the Honda Element. I'll leave it up here, you guys can check it out, but we did some pretty crazy things with the Honda Element. The really nice thing about the Honda Element is that the floors are made of this like hard plastic, so you don't have to worry about getting it dirty. It wipes off really easily. I just wouldn't recommend getting it wet because these are known to rust through, which is one of the cons about these vehicles. Also, the rear seats are super easy to remove. There's like a little lever, you pull it off and you can take it off. And when I'm using this Honda Element, I rarely ever use the rear seats. Because of the Honda Element's boxy shape, you can get super creative on what you can do in the Honda Element. I've had like 3 different variations, one for 2 people, one for 1 person, and I've seen all sorts of crazy designs. But because it's so boxy, the world is your oyster. So that's a really great pro about this vehicle, is that it's very boxy. I think one of the biggest pros for the Honda Element, and the reason why I chose it in the first place, is because it's very stealthy. I've parked this thing all over the place on city streets, in Walmarts, in parking lots, and very rarely, maybe once or twice in my whole 3 years of living the van life, has someone like come and knocked on the door, because it simply looks like a regular old SUV. I mean, look at this thing. If you look at it, it's just like, it's kind of like a camper car, but I highly doubt anyone's like living inside of it. And that's one of the best things about the Honda Element, is its stealthy nature. I've been able to go to all sorts of different national parks and all sorts of different cities and save a ton of money on hotels and camping fees because it's so stealthy. Now, some of the cons. Because it's a smaller vehicle, you're only going to be able to carry 1 or 2 people in this thing. I think for a 3-person setup, if you're doing like a van life situation, there's just no way it's gonna happen. But if you have a bigger van, you have that option. The other thing is, of course, you can't stand in here. So if you're a full-time camper and it's raining out and you wanna cook, well, guess what? You're gonna have to go outside of your vehicle, go to a park, and you're gonna have to cook out in the elements, and that's just what it is. Another con is that they're getting pretty hard to find in good condition. So people are scooping these up left and right, and if you wanna find one in like pristine condition with low miles, you're gonna end up paying like $20,000 for a vehicle that's almost 20 years old. But there are some examples out there at this point in time for like $7,000 to $10,000, but those often have high miles, and a lot of these have like suspension issues. So if you're looking to get one, you definitely want to rebuild the suspension, and they're definitely known to be rusty. So especially if you live in those states where there's known to be a lot of rust on the cars, be sure that you get your Honda Element checked out by a mechanic before purchasing it, because once these things start to rust, it's kind of like game over, especially down in the frame. So just be aware of that if you're looking to purchase a Honda Element. And these Honda Elements are kind of underpowered. The K20 engine that comes inside of it is really nice, but when you're going up those steep overpasses and you've got it loaded up and maybe you have some gear on top, it's just slow. If it had like a 6-cylinder like the RAV4, I think it'd be like a much more capable vehicle. And don't get me wrong, the 4-cylinder will do it. It's just gonna be kind of slow going up those big overpasses. But for most cases, it's pretty good. All right, guys, so what are your thoughts? Please let me know down below. What do you love about the Honda Element? What do you hate about the Honda Element? Should Honda come out with a new Honda Element? I think they should. Please let us know down below in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. If you're looking for build inspiration for your Honda Element, check out this video here. Be sure to subscribe and share with your friends, and we'll see you next time. Peace.